Knowing the 15 best ways to make money as an artist is information that will benefit you a lifetime. One of these made me $20,000 in just one weekend, and I've seen artists make 7 figures within weeks of implementing one of these strategies. The first one is to put your art on merchandise, mugs, phone cases, pillowcases, you name it. The benefit here is that your fans can now invest in you or support you in a way that actually benefits them throughout their life. Now the downside is that the profit margins are going to be lower because you can simply not sell a $3 million phone case. A good example of this is Takashi Murakami, who collaborated with Louis Vuitton. You have these beautiful purses with now art on the purse. It's absolutely amazing. Or another example is Damien Hirst, who put his dots, amazing dots, the best dots in the world, on skateboards. Now both of these artists show us that the whole sellout artist myth, where we have to be afraid to put our art on commercial things because it would be too sellout-like or commercial-like, is absolute BS. Number 2, the micro Michelangelo that you are, the micro Picasso that you are smart about it. You are going to leave the saturated oil painting market behind and step into something that is new and fresh and promising. And so you start selling non-fungible tokens, NFTs. The benefit here is that you step into a new marketplace that doesn't have the same amount of saturation levels yet. The downside is that NFTs at this moment are perceived as somewhat scammy. You've probably got these Instagram messages of NFT scams all over the place. A good example of this is, of course, people who was selling or making money $10,000 a month, perhaps less than that, with his Instagram following, and then suddenly in December 2020 he sells an NFT for $3.5 million, and in March, a couple of months later, he's selling for $69 million. One NFT is $69 million. So in a matter of months, he goes from $10,000 a month, which is an estimate, I just made that up, I assume that, to $69 million for one artwork by stepping into the new. Number 3, taking a playbook from the amazing Banksy and creating your own pop-up show. Now the benefit here is that you will be using scarcity and urgency and all of these amazing psychological sales tricks that generate money, explained in Influence Psychology by Robert Cialdini. Now the downside here is that these pop-up shows will cost a lot of upfront costs to manufacture, as well as a lot of organizational costs just for a pop-up little event. A good example of this is Dismaland. Oh my god, do I regret not going to Dismaland. The amazing Dismaland. I would have had a picture of me on Instagram on Dismaland with an object from Dismaland. But now I don't have that because Dismaland is gone, because it was a pop-up show and there was scarcity and urgency and I didn't listen, I didn't go, and now I regret it, and I have this regret inside of my body that is all this human psychology, Robert Cialdini type of thing that you could be using yourself to generate regret or FOMO within people through creating a pop-up show. Number 4, selling original art. Now the benefit here is that you could potentially sell at extremely high price point. We've seen original art sell for price points higher than $400 million. This is not possible with a mug. Now the downside is, of course, that it will take a lot of time before you can develop a brand that can actually sell at those price points, and before you develop that brand, selling original art is probably not the best idea for you. A good example of this is Anna Weyand, who went from selling at $1,000 price point to selling at $1 million price point in less than a year. I've made a video about her. You can only do this with original art. You can't do this with mugs or other things. You know, you need original art for this type of leap to happen. Number 5 is one that I discovered during an art fair in London. So I arrive at the fair, I nervously unpack my art because this is a very important moment. I've invested thousands of dollars into this particular fair. Booth fees, accommodation fees, travel fees. I even rented the Mercedes to boost my confidence, and so I told myself that if this fair would fail, I would just quit art altogether. When the art was installed, I told the assistant, which was nothing more than just a friend that was with me, that I also paid for the accommodation cost and transportation cost and all of that stuff. I asked her to price the test piece that I brought with me at $500. And then I went away to meet some of the other artists, and when I was back from my round meeting the artist, to my surprise, the test piece sold. What's more is that she misunderstood the price point and she priced it at $5,000. And so the truth is that I was surprised at how easy it is to sell art at higher price points during art fairs. The main benefit of art fairs is that you can price your art at higher price points as a beginner without a massive brand and without an audience, because the art fair organizers will bring the collectors to the art fair. The downside is that there are a lot of upfront costs in booth fees, in accommodation fees, in transportation fees, and all of those fees. If you're interested in selling your art at art fairs, I made a free PDF where I explain all of my best tips on selling your art at art fairs. Link in the description. Let's go to number 6. This is one that goes back a long time. Historically speaking, artists have been doing this for hundreds of years. Rembrandt was doing this. Hokusai was doing this. Creating workshops and courses. Now, with the 21st century, you can create online courses, which has an added benefit that once the course has been created, you can sell it passively or relatively passively for a very long time until you're bored of the course. Now, the downside is that the upfront time investment and money investment is also real. They say that creating a course takes about the same amount as creating or writing a book. And you also need camera equipment and editing equipment and all sorts of equipment. Number 7 is ideal for artists who don't want to do any selling, who don't want to do any marketing, who don't want to do any work and just sit there, relax, and do nothing while the money comes rolling into their bank accounts. We are talking about offering your art for licensing prints so that businesses can do all of the selling and the marketing for you, and they've licensed your art and they now print your art on all sorts of stuff like wallpaper and mugs and all of those types of things. The benefit here is, of course, that you are getting royalties from all of those sales that you don't have to do anything for. The downside is that this whole thing was a very big, exaggerated element, because the only reason that these businesses will be interested in licensing your art is if you are already famous. And so in order to get famous, you will need to spend a lot of time marketing and selling your art, which is the opposite of what I just said in the beginning of point 7. A good example of this is Keith Haring, who has this Haring Foundation, who licenses Haring artworks to all sorts of people who want to do the Haring type of rudimentary, childish artworks on things, because Haring is famous, not because the art is amazing. The childish one-line things are not amazing. It's just because Haring is already massively famous. Number 9 is Patreon, where you as a creator can create a community where people inside of the community will pay a monthly subscription to get access to exclusive content, behind the scene access, early releases and personalized items. Now, the benefit is, of course, that you are getting a monthly subscription, recurring revenue. The downside is that you will need either a large budget that can drive traffic towards your community, which is kind of a silly idea, or an established audience that want to support you on Patreon. A good example of this is the amazing Ross Tran, who has 22,041 members on his Patreon at the time of recording. If we assume that those Patreon members would buy the middle tier thing, which is 14.50 in euro, then we would have a monthly recurring revenue stream of 319,594 euro every single month. That is $357,000 every single month. Every single month, recurring. Number 10, selling digital downloads so that people can now download your art or products or PDF or printables themselves. Now, the benefit is, of course, that there is no overhead cost, there is no inventory, there is no shipping cost, there is no logistics, because it's all digital downloads. The downside is that these digital downloads, after they've been purchased by a bad actor, can be put online for free in the name or in the form of piracy. And so now all of your projects are available for free, and now you can't sell them anymore because people can get them for free. And the people that bought them and paid money for you are now angry that they are offering it for free, and they might think that you are offering it for free, but it's this bad actor that's offering it for free, and so you didn't have anything to do with it. You would never hurt your customers like this, but now the whole thing is blowing up. A great example of this is, I wrote it down, Julia Dreams. Now she does this whole Etsy thing where she sells all sorts of stuff, including digital downloads. But what's interesting is that she has an Instagram page of 171,000 followers. And how many sales did she get on her Etsy? 66,000 sales. In other words, this is not really coming from her Instagram alone. There's a large portion of that comes from Etsy itself. And so without an audience, you can, if you are very good at SEO and very good at packaging and very good at taking pictures and very good at description writing and all of that stuff, then you can actually win without an audience doing this process. Number 11, offering live paintings at events, like for example charity events or corporate events or festivals and all sorts of stuff. Now the benefit here is that you are not just making those artworks and getting paid for that whole performance, but you also find new customers during those events. You can potentially even auction your art during those events. And the downside is that there is a lot of pressure to paint live in front of an audience. Good example of this is David Garibaldi, who is making these paintings, speed paintings, during live events, including charity events, and he is selling those, auctioning them off at the event for $10,000 all the way up to $500,000 depending on the event and all sorts of stuff. So that's pretty impressive. Number 12, social media sponsorship, something that you are familiar with considering that you're watching YouTube and there are a lot of companies that are paying creators to talk about their product. This is a sponsorship. Now, you will be surprised of how much you can actually make doing that. I can technically speaking not talk about that, but I'm not a normie creator, so I'm just gonna do whatever I want. I have had companies paying me $1,500 for 2 30-second ad spots. Ad spots, it's just me reading out an ad on this channel. A channel that has only 35,000 subscribers. At that time, the channel had like 26,000 or 27,000 or something. So you can get a real income with a very small channel like this. Number 13, crowdfunding your art project. This is a great idea. If you don't have a budget, but you want to do this big art project that will cost you $30,000, but you don't have $30,000. And so what do? You crowdfund the thing on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. You use your audience, you drive traffic to that particular website where they will invest in perks that you can give them. And then with the money that they invested or that they paid to get the particular perks, with that money you now do the project. And so you don't need any money up front and you can't ever lose money ever. So that is kind of the benefit. The downside is that you will need an audience in order for this to work. A great example of this is Marina Abramovic, the amazing Marina Abramovic, who created a Kickstarter campaign or some other crowdfunding campaign for a building that she wanted to make, an amazing building where she would do all sorts of spiritual things, I assume, and she raised millions of dollars for her amazing building, and then she never actually built the building and got away with millions of dollars from people without building the building, and then people got pissed off, but she didn't really care because she is one of the most powerful people in the world, one of the most powerful people in the art world anyway, and so she didn't need to care and ran away with millions of dollars because that's how it goes. By the way, I should really stop attacking these massive people in the art world or any world for that matter. I recently attacked Instagram on a video a couple of weeks ago on my channel. I destroyed them, and what did they do? They erased my Instagram profile and canceled me from the internet for eternity. Let's go. So look, here's the thing, if Marina would come after me, I wouldn't have a chance. I should probably stop saying these things, but this is for fun. It's a joke. To me, this is all theater. It's one big joke. Don't take it seriously. Let's move to number 14. Number 14, hosting live online workshops. Now this is a very new thing. We have workshops, artists do this all of the time. They create workshops where they explain art techniques, watercolor techniques, oil painting techniques, sculpting techniques, ceramic techniques, and then they make money doing so. This is a very tried and true thing, but this one is online. virtual workshops. The benefit here is, of course, that you can reach all of your audience from all over the globe instead of actually having to go there to these specific locations and do workshops. No, you can have everyone at once. You can do way bigger, larger scale workshop, make way more money. The downside is, of course, that you will need an audience prior to actually doing this. A good example of this is Jenna Rainey. So she is doing live art workshops. This is not some live Q&A type of stuff. This is art workshops. She is explaining art techniques live in the moment. And by the way, why did Instagram erase my profile? Why did they erase it? Why can I not have an Instagram profile anymore? Because I was telling the truth. Unlike those normie creators who get all of the views and just say normie BS, unimportant stuff. I'm giving people the truth and get punished for that, which I don't mind. I will just keep on doing this anyway. Next one, making social media content. Now the benefit of making content is that as you are marketing and branding yourself, you are getting AdSense money coming in. Money paid by advertisers, not sponsorships, but ads, pre-roll ads, mid-roll ads, end-roll ads on YouTube, for example. Now the downside is that AdSense money is not that much. Next one on this list should be to actually explain you how to market and sell in any of the ways that we just described. I've made a video about this called Everything I Learned About Marketing and Selling Your Art in 10 Years. Don't forget the free PDF link in the description and in the end screen. That said, get the hell out of here.